This is about planning for success. How many of you can read a set of blueprints? To some degree or another, you can read some blueprints. Okay? How many of you have a written down business plan for the year our Lord 2001? Come on back. I don't see any hands. Isn't it interesting? What's your first name?
Scott.
Isn't it interesting, Scott, that we're in the building business, and everything we do, we turn to a set of plans. And it tells us what to do with the foundation, the roof plan, the framing plan, the stairways, the finished wall plans. The whole thing is planned out. And the specifications and notes and architectural notes and engineering notes, and it's all planned out. And every time people would come into my job trailer, they were always looking at the plans. And they'd just be turning to where their roofing was, or they'd be turning it back to... Because that's what they needed in order to build the project that we were going to build. And I find it interesting that now you are probably in the most important building phase of your life, which is building your business. So what I want to do is touch on some of the things that we want to make sure we have in our plan. I want to give you a whole bunch of things to think about. Now, how realistic is it? How realistic is it to think that we could cover it all tonight? How realistic is it for any one person to know all the things there are to know? So this is not the end. This isn't the class that ends all classes. This is the beginning of the thinking process of how to start planning for your success. Now, another thing about that is as long as I've been in construction, I've been licensed since 1973 as a general contractor. And I've built in many different states, and I've built projects from handyman repair work up to $22.9 million was the biggest project that I've ever done. But I do know that I can't do your business. I can talk to you about your business. In fact, that's what I'm doing here now. This is what I like to do, and that is have conversations with fellow contractors so that you can ask yourself the questions that need to be asked, and you can start searching for how you want to answer those questions. Because I can't do it. I don't know it all. I never have known it all. I learned from bib overall contractors, old timers, and I learned a lot off of them. And I've been in this industry of construction longer than some of you have been on the earth. 1963 was my first construction project when I graduated from high school.
The year I was born.
Year you were born, Scott. So there you are. And old Bob was out there digging a septic tank, of all things, digging a hole for a septic tank. Well, I've had some ups and I've had some downs. My college education, my college background happened... How you doing, guy? Have a seat there. My college background was in music, so that didn't help much. But I have been in the construction industry, started as a laborer in 1963 and worked up through bib overall contractors. When I got out of the military in 1970, I came to Phoenix, Arizona, and I started to work out of local 1089 Carpenters Union. And I worked there for a while, then I decided that I would go ahead and get my contractor's license. It wasn't until I had the registrar of contractors, not once, but twice, pull up on my job when I wasn't licensed before I decided maybe I better get my license. So I got my license, but do you know I didn't know that when I got my license I was actually starting my career, my business? Well, you got to get a license. You know, like a hunting license, a fishing license, you get a contractor's license. See, it didn't dawn on me that what I was doing was setting up a business. I had no more idea than a goat what I was actually supposed to do about putting together a business. So I learned over the years, but it wasn't pretty. And I was smart enough to hook up with guys that knew So my conversations were generally with seasoned veterans who had already been there and done some of those things. I would work for poor people and never could make any money. Ross Perot said, you can't make any money doing business with people who don't have any. So I started fixing kitchens and remodeling houses, and they didn't have any money. And I would work hard, and I always do good work. I don't do junk work. I did get referrals, but what did I get? I got referrals from poor people to other poor people, and I couldn't make any money. Then I worked with rich people, but I didn't know how to negotiate with rich people, and they can talk you out of your money. So there's a whole lot of lessons to learn, and I started learning pretty quick, because this is about learning quick. See, a lot of you have worked for good companies. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with putting in 8 hours a day for 8 hours of pay. What you've chosen to do, however, is to move beyond that and look at some possibilities for some greater rewards. There's basically 3 reasons why people get into the contracting business. Remember, I'm separating license from the business. You might do what it takes to get a license, but you better start working on your business, because it is ultimately going to be your business that takes you where you want to go. That's what a business is. It's a vehicle. How many of you drove down here tonight? And you were in a vehicle, yes? And that vehicle took you from where you were to where you want to go, yes? That's what a business does. It takes you from where you are right now, and if you build that vehicle right, it'll take you where you want to go. So that's what this whole series, and I'm kind of dusting myself off and coming out of like a semi-retirement here, because what I really enjoy doing is talking to my fellow contractors, and in such a way that you decide what you want to do. You put together your own course of action, you have your own motivation, and you go do it. You will find out that nobody's going to do it for you. Old Bob here is not going to be able to do it for you. One of the things that I never did do was I never started out in this career by asking myself the important questions. Like, how did I end up here in Phoenix, Arizona? To tell you the truth, when I got out of the military in El Paso, Texas, I did not want to live in El Paso. I knew that. So I took a quarter and I flipped Albuquerque, Denver, or Phoenix. So now you know how that turned out. But one question, and if I were to sit down with you in a coffee shop and talk about your business, I would ask you a bunch of questions. I would ask you, how did you get here? Is this where you want to be? Why would you want to start a business, start doing well, and your whole family hates it here? So one of the things that I would ask you is, are you happy where you are? How did you get here, and is that okay with you? What do you do? If what you're doing, how many thousand of other people are doing what you do? Have you ever stopped to think about how much competition you have? Have you ever started to look at, are you truly a journeyman of your skill and your craft, your trade? Do you really know it in and out? You could go to Denver, you can go to Dallas, you can go anywhere you want and step on a crew and you got it down. Because see, that's important, because you may have to run into all kinds of job situations, and you've got to be able to solve them. So, are you truly a journeyman? Can you handle that work in depth at any level? See, if not, then you need to learn something about that. Because maybe you need to add something to your business. Maybe you do painting, but you can do other types of coatings. Maybe you can do epoxy coatings. So maybe if you're a journeyman about this, can you bring something else into that to make that more service, more product? I'm asking these questions of you so that you will ask them of yourself. Here's an important one. Are you doing what you want to do? Well, I'll tell you what, you got to like it. If you're laying tile, you better like laying tile. If you're going to make a career, if your occupation is that you're a tile setter in construction, you better know what to do about all different kinds of cases, and do you like it? Man, if you don't like what you do, it's going to be a long life. It's almost a sentence instead of the opportunity. The reasons why people get into the contracting business is generally not the money. It's generally they want to rely on themselves. They don't want to have to wait till the guy, what's your first name?
Dan.
Dan? Have you ever had a guy come in and say, Dan, I didn't get that job I thought I was going to. I won't need you till next week. Maybe about Wednesday, Thursday, I'll give you a call. So some people don't want to put their life in someone else's hand and be unemployed for a while and then have to go seeking out little jobs. So they do it for independence. They do it for self-reliance. And here's the way I say this. I want to be cautious how I say these things. They also want the opportunity for better money. See, if you're working 8 hours a day and you get paid and there's no overtime and that's the end of it, you're trading your time for dollars. Time for dollars. That's a fair deal. Nothing wrong with that. But maybe you want to work longer. Well, I don't pay overtime. Well, what about this Saturday? No, work week's done. I can't pay overtime. Well, what if I just work straight time? Against the law. Now, you can do it. I'm just telling you, it's against the law. Anything over 40 hours is overtime, time and a half. So when you're independent and you're on a roll, you might finish that job and it'd be the sun going down, but you're done. So independence, self-reliance, and the opportunity to make more money. No guarantees. Could you teach your craft? Can you teach somebody else? Do you know enough about it to hire good people? Because in a little bit we're going to discuss whether or not you're going to be a sole owner and do all the work yourself. No employees, no helpers, just you. Or do you want to have a small company that has a couple people to help you, a couple small crew? Or do you want to go ahead and build a business that you see from time to time where people have 6, 8, 10 trucks out on the road and it's a bona fide full business? Each one of those is a level. The first thing I always try to tell people is keep your day job. If you want to get into the contracting business, don't be afraid to keep your day job. And then very systematically plan how you can go and launch your business when you're ready. Although most of the people that end up in this class, they're already in deep. They're in real deep. But it's a question that's what I will often pose to particularly a young person that's got a family. If they're working for a good company, be careful about jumping out here. You've got some health insurance coverages now. Plan this. The planning process, ladies and gentlemen, is actually an invigorating process because it challenges you to look and answer and be able to see how to solve problems and be able to see on beyond where you are right now. And that's what you've got to be able to do, is have that vision. You've got to be able to look down the road and say, you know, in 3 months I think we could do this. I think by 6 months I could do that. And you've got to be able to dream a little bit. You've got to be able to want it bad enough to go out here and do whatever's necessary. So some of the questions are you a journeyman? How are you with your craft? Can you teach your craft? Could you quality control to make sure you have good work if someone's working for you? How do you like working with customers? I have people that don't like to work with customers. They're very good at their work, but they're not good with people. That's okay. You can have a spot for that. You just don't want to do like I did one time. I had this guy, his name was Lonnie. I called him Looney. And he would go out I sent him out to the truck to get a couple of things, and when he walked back in, he walked right across the yard and through the flower garden, which had been irrigated. Now he had mud on the bottom of his feet, and he walked in that lady's house on her nice carpet. I thought she was going to keel over. I thought she was going to drop out right there. And I never, not only did I not get a thank you for a job well done, I never got a referral off of that. So your employees, that aren't good people skills, maybe you got to keep them in the back room a little bit.